Chelsea Green, Sonya Deville, the new women's tag team champions. So we'll start there. We've talked ad nauseum about this tag team championship reign, or this tag team championship in the women's division, and should it be here? Should they get rid of it? Do you think Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville now being the new women's tag team champions is helps this division? It hurts this division, or it doesn't do either? What do you think, Brandon?
I think it helps the division because these two ladies have, they've had very interesting paths to get to where they are today, and now they're champions, which is great. Chelsea Green, I feel like she's been undervalued since she returned to WWE, and obviously Sonya, she was an authority figure for a bit. So at first it was kind of an odd pairing, but I'm buying into the I'm actually drinking the Kool-Aid, and I feel like they're a really good duo, and we've talked about it on many episodes in the past where the depth and division of true tag teams is lacking, and these two to me kind of feel like, I know they're a newer pairing, but I feel like they can become a good tag team, to help the women's division going forward. I feel like a long-term reign is something they need, and I'm okay with them being maybe more tag team specialists because we do have those in WWE on the men's side where you have, up until recently, the Usos, for example, they were a tag team specialist for a long time, and then obviously they're doing some solo stuff. But having some tag team specialists is not a bad thing. I think it's good for the division. I was caught off guard a little bit by that, but what I kind of liked was they didn't make Raquel and they didn't make Liv look bad in the process. Where Rhea took Raquel out before the match, so they were essentially, it was like 1.5 versus 2, which in a way, I guess if you want to look at it, if you want to nitpick, it kind of, maybe it doesn't sound as great with Chelsea, and Sonya winning the titles, but I think it was a good way for Raquel to still save face and Liv Morgan to save face as a tag team. So maybe Raquel can get healed up if it's, if she does have real injuries going on, or, so they could circle back later, or they could build this in to a cool storyline and say, oh, hey, Rhea took me out. That's the reason why you won the belts. Do something like that. I think that's a good way to do it. I think this whole thing where it's a new, fresh tag team that won in the women's division, I think it's a good thing. We need more women's tag teams. I like it. I like the girls that got called up from NXT, Kaden and I forget her name. So I know it's Kaden, and I can't think of the other one off the top of my head. But she used to go under Canizaro, is what she used to go under before.
Yes.
But they were a good tag team in NXT, and I like when they came up because they're legit. They are tag team specialists. Is how I look at them. So I'm glad to see there's some actual. They're starting to build a little bit of depth. We got work to do. We know that, but it's good to see some depth in the division.
I think all these title changes has actually, normally with championships, let's say the world championship, right? It couldn't be any stronger that Roman Reigns has had this belt for as long as he has, and some of these other people like Gunther and Austin Theory. But with the women's tag team championships, I think these kind of changeovers have helped the division because it enlightens us that there are tag teams worthy of having the belts and that they're thinking that could get the belts. The problem I think we had in this division before with long title reigns is the fact that there isn't anybody worthy. The fact that some of these people hold the championship and the women's tag team championship for so long is because there really isn't any contenders to face them. Sometimes there'd be some throwaway tag team that they put together last minute on SmackDown just for them to defend the title, and then they would win, but we didn't have anybody who beat them because we didn't have any other tag teams. The fact that I feel that these tag teams are getting the wins, getting the championships, is showing that we have these tag teams. We had Shayna and Ronda, which I still think is probably the most cohesive women's tag team outside of Sasha Banks and Naomi. I thought that was a really good women's tag team champion. But Shayna and Ronda, I felt, obviously were good together for the fact that they have that MMA, tie-in, that kind of unity. But then, they kind of created that with Raquel Rodriguez and Liv Morgan. I thought they were all right. They kind of reminded me of like Team Hell No in the sense of, the short one and the tall one, the strong muscle one, and kind of, the wittier one together. So I thought they worked together pretty well. And again, putting them together and actually giving them the championship kind of helps legitimize them as a tag team. So the more tag teams win this, legitimizes them more essentially as a tag team. That's, I guess, the issue we were having before, because we were seeing, let's say, Naomi and Sasha Banks just face a tag team that was put together for the night, lose, and then they go on their separate ways. So having these changeovers kind of is legitimizing the belts, because it's legitimizing tag teams. It's legitimizing the field, which, let's face it, for a while, had a lot of nobody tag teams. And I think, even when we had like a fatal four-way match for the tag team championships with other tag teams, like we saw at WrestleMania, for example, I didn't think any of those tag teams that were in it were legit to win it. Now, if one of those tag teams won it, I'd think they were legit now that they're champions together. But in the chase, I don't think they were legitimate tag teams. Essentially, by becoming the women's tag team champions, that means you won one match as a team. You'll have to then have another match as a team. That's at least 2 guaranteed matches as a team. And sometimes in the past, we would see some of these women's tag team championship matches. It would be one team, Naomi and Sasha, for example, or Ron and Shayna, for example, versus a team who was just the team for tonight, loses, so they don't even get that second match as a team. So like I said, the more people that win the match have to essentially then be forced to be a team for more than one occasion, which then essentially gives them that legitimacy. It's like the Major League Baseball. You got to have like 100-something at bats to be considered a Major League Baseball player officially. You know what I mean? So it's like you're giving them more chances to be a tag team, so you're legitimizing them as a tag team, whether instead of just the one and dones like we've seen.
So let me ask you this then. So in the spirit of that, would you want to see? And I had to double check myself here. So Caden Carter and Katanya Chance. A lot of Chance Carters, a lot of KCs there. So I kind of threw me off there. But do you want to see them be the next champion? So what I guess my question is, do you want to see a short-term run with Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville? Like I said a moment ago, I want to see them run for a little while before they drop the belts to make it a legitimate.
No, I will say with them, I would like them to stay for a little bit, because unlike some of the other ones like Ronda Rousey, right, and even like Raquel Rodriguez, who clearly is in the women's championship picture herself, right? So we have a few of these like Ronda Rousey, Shayna Baszler, Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez, who are all individually very talented, individually in women's championship pictures by themselves. I don't see that with Sonya Deville and Chelsea Green, right? So this might be their chance as a tag team, because like I said, if they lose the tag team championships, I don't think it's because, like, with NXT, you see someone lose the world title, it's because they're getting the call up. I don't think Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville, if they lose this championship next week on Raw, let's say, it's because a big program for Chelsea Green versus Rhea Ripley's coming up, or a big program with Sonya Deville and Asuka's coming up. I don't think that would be what would be happening for them on the horizon if they lose these tag team championships. So essentially, it's like the Dudley Boys, right? I mean, obviously, down the line, Bubba Ray and Devon kind of went their own ways. They kind of had singles careers, but let's face it. Go back to the year 1999, Bubba Ray Dudley and Devon Dudley are nothing on their own. Go back to 1999, Jeff Hardy and Matt Hardy are nothing on their own. Sure, they did something on their own in the future, but at that time, nothing on their own. And Chelsea Green, she's done some stuff on her own in other companies, but here in WWE, like I said, Chelsea Green, Sonya Deville, they're much stronger as a unit than they are on their own. I hope to see Sonya Deville somehow built up to be, the next great competitor. We saw a little bit against Charlotte Flair a couple years ago, about a year ago, actually. And I'd love Sonya Deville versus Rhea Ripley. Sure, it'd be great, program to main event WrestleMania someday if she gets that kind of billing. But as of right now, no, I look at her and Chelsea Green stronger together than separate.
And I'll put a little note, a little bow on this part. So for me, you mentioned Rhea Ripley and Sonya Deville, which that sounds pretty cool. But I'll throw a name at you that I think would be even better, even at this stage and down the line. We just mentioned it was Raquel Rodriguez. That's who I want to see versus Rhea Ripley. So that's
and that's the thing.
I think it's happening.
That is the one negative, and that's kind of how I'll end the tag team title talk here. Is the one negative I've seen so far, right? And it ties into, right, a lot of people. I kind of tie this into like cryptocurrency, right? A lot of the negatives and a lot of the people talk, myself included, right, about cryptocurrency is that it's not necessarily a currency like on its own, for the fact that the goal of making cryptocurrency to be worth something is to then trade it for current, normal, government-run currency, right? We don't ever say this cryptocurrency is worth 50,000. We don't ever say, Ethereum is worth 50,000 Bitcoin. We say Ethereum is worth $50,000. Bitcoin is worth $60,000. We always compare it to that. And that's been the struggle here with the women's tag team division, is the fact that these people are using this, Raquel Rodriguez, Liv Morgan, Ronda Rousey, as platforms to get out of the tag team division. They're using the tag team titles to get out of the tag team division. Raquel Rodriguez and Liv Morgan essentially now, especially Raquel Rodriguez, to go towards Rhea Ripley. Ronda Rousey is going towards Shayna Baszler probably at SummerSlam here. So they're using this tag team. They're putting themselves together only to platform themselves to get out of the tag team division. And that's kind of shows you still the weakness of the tag. The Usos aren't winning the tag team titles so they can get out of the tag team titles so that they can say, great, we're tag team champs. Let's lose it on Raw and split up. No, they're not looking to do that. Good tag teams stay together. The New Day didn't use the tag team, the 3-year reigns that they've had, as just platforms to get out of the divisions. And essentially, great, if they have a 3-year reign, good for, these people in the women's tag teams. But unfortunately, a lot of them are getting in just to get out. I'll great to be a tag team champion. Maybe if I become tag team champion, I can get out of this division and be a singles champion again.
I think I'll add one thing. Chance and Carter, who we talked about, I mentioned a few minutes ago. That's a team that I think could be, kind of like the flag bearers eventually of the women's tag team division, because I don't think they're both going to be solo competitors. I do feel like they're going to be tag team specialists. So for me, I feel like if you're going to have a tag team that's going to be around for a bit, I feel like that's going to be your flag bearer. I might be going crazy on that, but we could be looking back a year or two from now.
It'll be a great tag team. And the reason I say this, and I know nothing about this, and I'm not a huge fan of, this NIL stuff when it comes into bringing in WWE superstars from other walks of life outside of wrestling, right? But because this tag team division is so small that nobody on the indie scenes, women specifically, are teaming up together because they don't see what's in it for them. Obviously, they see the WWE has this new division, but for the most part, if they're going to get signed by AEW, they're going to get signed by Ring of Honor, Impact Wrestling, any of these companies, they don't have a tag team division, so why go at it that route? But I believe, and you might know this a little bit better than me about this, I think they're made millions of dollars and have millions of followers, but I think they're twins, and they played collegiate basketball, I think, at Miami.
Yeah.
But, and they talk about what to do post basketball if, they're big on TikTok and Instagram and social media platforms like that. And that would be good for this division because of the fact that they're together. They're twins. They need that, like the Usos and like we've seen with other tag teams, this twin, this sisterhood, brotherhood kind of thing, because then you only see them together. Then you only see them as one, like the Dudley Boys back in the day, like the Hardy Boys. We only saw them as one together. It wasn't two independent wrestlers one from California. Look at the Young Bucks, for example. We only ever see them together as the Young Bucks. Sometimes we forget who's who, and that's good for a tag team to do that because you look at them as a unit. So these girls from Miami, we look at them as like these twins, right? The Bellas would have been great for the tag team division if there was a tag team division back in the day because of that fact. We looked at them as a unit together. So
I'll add to this. The Cavender twins, to me, they are going to be the next Bella twins. And obviously, they're twins. We get it.
Yeah.
But the difference, and no disrespect to the Bella twins, the Cavender twins are better athletes, I feel like, and I feel like
I think the Bellas got in essentially from the modeling world. They didn't come in from, and I'm not saying they hadn't had some sort of athletic background, but these people are coming from straight Division I college sports.
They're not coming straight from Division I sports. I mean, they were obviously probably good athletes in high school and maybe in the collegiate level, but the Cavender twins, not only do they have the looks, they could be models, and obviously with social media and stuff, I'm sure that's the route. I don't follow them, so I know them from the basketball side. I know the deal, and obviously they're coming to WWE and everything. But to me, they could be the newest, like the new generation of what the Bella twins were, and maybe take it up a notch. Because if they can use that athletic ability that they both have and put it in the ring and learn the physicality, but also the mental side of wrestling, they have a chance to be really good. So I mean, we'll see. It's gonna be I don't expect to see much of them on obviously the main roster for a while, but eventually it would be cool to see them become something legit, because they are legit like athletes.